We are going to continue to talk about Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner's arrival in China. As you just heard from our reporter there on the ground, he has just arrived. We are joined right now by David Gordon. He is head of research at Eurasia Group. He is joining us now on the phone. David, so glad to have you with us. So what is the most likely outcome of Treasury Secretary Geithner's visit to China?
Well, I don't think there's going to be an immediate outcome in terms of any currency appreciation. I think that's the important thing. The Chinese can't be perceived as domestically in China as moving in direct response from any American pressure. So I don't think there's going to be any kind of an immediate outcome. I do think what this is about, however, is the U.S. and China working out the details of what an appreciation might look like. I think that Chinese officials are signaling that they are prepared to make such a move in upcoming weeks, hopefully, perhaps as long as maybe a couple of months. And this sets the stage for President Hu Jintao's visit to Washington next week for the nuclear talks that threaten to be overshadowed by this looming economic and financial issue.
David, just out of curiosity, I mean, we had an FX strategist with us yesterday, and she says, honestly, it's in China's best interest to let the yuan revaluate just a little bit, maybe 3 or 4%, but you don't think that's likely on this trip?
I don't think it's likely on this trip. I do think it is in China's best interest, and I think there's a growing consensus in China about that. But there's also a risk here for China, and that is the loss of competitiveness for some of its firms in the export space in the context of a recovery globally that is gaining momentum, but for China still looks pretty risky. And I think there's been a lot of pushback from commercial interests and from the Commerce Ministry there against doing this. But I think the Chinese want the yuan to play a larger role. They do want to go up the value chain, and they, I think, do understand that they have to make some response to growing global pressures, not just from the United States, to move on the exchange rate.
David, we have about 40 seconds left. We have Geithner's visit to China. We know next week the Chinese president coming to the U.S. Is this a warming up of relations between the two, or just political pragmatism?
No, I think it's a bit of a warming. I think both China and the United States recognize that they have to really manage this relationship. But frankly, there's going to be a lot of tensions in this relationship going down the line, and including over this issue. I frankly don't feel the Chinese are going to move very much. I would say 2 to 3% probably is all we're going to see even in the next coming months.
David, we thank you so much for joining us. David Gordon joining us there from the Eurasia Group.